Good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the first 2025 episode of Steel Sharp and Steel. I'm Joy Stevens.
And I am a barely charred Jermaine Taylor.
Little medium
And
well over there.
I am a medium rare
Oh,
charcoal briquette.
Meanwhile, I am a slushy, right?
Yeah, you look all nice and comfortable. I'm
Bruh.
putting my little Padawan hood on. There we go.
The current temperature in Atlanta is 31 degrees. Winter storm warning. It's supposed to snow tonight.
We will gladly take any precipitation you guys can offer.
I know that's right. Because the current forecast in West Hills is you on fire.
Yeah. Are you getting those fake evacuations?
Mine is actually not fake.
Oh, no, yours aren't fake? Oh, so you're in Kenmore.
I'm near the Kenneth Fire.
Okay, the Kenneth Fire. Okay, cool. All right. Wow.
So the Kenneth Fire is about 14 driving minutes from me.
Oh my God, you're so as
But
close
the
as I was
wind-
to the sunset. That's where you are with Kenneth.
The wind is blowing away from me.
Okay.
And I think this was an arson fire. And so it looks like they have 125 fire trucks headed to this fire, and it's a smaller fire. I think part of it will depend on whether or not it is in Bell Canyon. Bell Canyon is a gated community, and there are a lot of single access roads. And so if it is a Bell Canyon fire, which it has not been described at, it may be trickier. But as of right now, technically I'm in an evacuation zone, but I am sitting here with you, and I hope that is not foolish. But right now I don't feel it's foolish. So
okay. Yeah, we got
it
the
gets too
series
hectic.
of-
My avatar will just disappear.
and we'll understand why.
Yeah, we'll understand. So.
Yeah, we got like a series of fake not fake, but malfunctioning.
Yeah, somebody pressed the wrong button. Somebody was on an edible.
So are just exhausted and tired.
You really look like you are wrapped up for the ski lodge. That's
Yo,
Joy.
I'm sitting over here like that little kid that can't put his arms down. Mommy,
I
don't feel like this.
Is that the way you literally walk around in your house, Joy?
Yeah, because I don't want to turn the heat on.
Wow. Listen.
This is me just being petty. I just refuse to give Atlanta Power that money. I'm sitting there trying to plug my computer in now because it's acting up. But it's 69 degrees in my house, but the windows are right there. And I just looked out the window when I went to get the plug for my computer, and it is snowing outside.
Wow.
Y'all know how Atlanta is in the snow.
31 degrees.
Right?
You ain't got no heater because the heater's got me.
I'm just like, you know what? If I go to bed in this outfit, I'll be fine.
Oh, I've slept in a hoodie before.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean, with
this
it
is
over and zipped.
This is a nice 350 GSM.
It looks like it's
hoodie.
thick.
So I got some good weight to this thing. And yes, best believe hoodies and winter are a good way to manage your comfort.
Yes.
At bedtime. But because at least two of us are at imminent risk of becoming barbecue entrees, why don't we get into the show?
Yes.
And because it's a lot to talk about. So much has happened since we sat here with Nikki Free.
Right.
And the 92%.
Right.
So much has happened. So where would you like to go, Joy? Okay, you sound like that.
It was like 9 stories. Did you hear all 9 stories as I went through my emotions? There's so much to talk about, right? Like, right, Anthony, there's so much. Like, you know what? Why don't we start with the suggestion out of the audience? Gregory McFadden was like the Trump. Yeah.
Now that
Now that was wild. I did not think it was going to go that way.
you know, I am pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Because I
But
think
definitely
at the end of
surprised.
the day, first of all, them people really don't like him.
Mm.
And Alito and Thomas are in so much hot water right now.
Yeah.
And I think Roberts has enough sense to know, listen, you're not getting jail time.
Right.
They're just they're gonna uphold the financial part, but you should have known that.
Right.
that
It was
you
a
weren't
come
gonna get
on,
off
bro
on that
type of
because you
thing.
defrauded the government. So
Right.
Yeah.
That part.
pay your bills and shut up, Mr. President. So, you know, I don't know how much time he's going to try to devote to trying to get them to stop that the financial part of it, but I'm sure that Judge Juan Merchan is like, yeah, bro, you fitting to pay. It's gonna be 200 million. It's gonna
Right.
be
We're
it's
gonna
gonna
get
be
you.
9 figures.
We're gonna get you in the pockets. We look, we let that shit slide with the insurrection. We don't care about your mistresses and your peeing on little girls. We don't care about none of that. But this money though,
Yeah.
Right.
we're gonna get this money. And
Yeah, we gonna
that
get the
is
money.
America.
I think Roberts is just trying his best to win over public opinion as we go into this next administration. Something has to be salvaged. I feel like, because he could have just easily just sided with Trump and just let him pretty much grant his wishes. They seem to be doing. Him and Alito are like brandishing with their chests wide open, having big, huge conversations. Remember when Bill Clinton or some associate of Bill Clinton had just a mere conversation with Loretta Lynch, and it just blew up everything, and she didn't even get even near the process of being, what was it, the Attorney General or something? It just sort of. It was some impropriety. She was speaking with somebody who she hadn't been any business speaking to, and it just blew up her whole trajectory. What was that? Who was it Bill Clinton or one of his associates?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Well, Bill Clinton had Lynch.
Okay, well, anyway, she was speaking to someone who shouldn't have been speaking to. And it was kind of along the levels of Trump speaking with Alito about this particular situation. So it's like a double standard. But I really feel it as though, as we go into this next administration where the tensions are really high and a lot of people are really upset with the current state of our politics, this is just an effort on Robert's part. I don't know if he's just signaling or this is what he really, really meant to do when he said, no, I'm not going to let you have this particular favor and you're going to have to pay up something, buddy. So,
yeah.
I'm encouraged by it, but I'm kind of side-eyeing it too.
Right.
Well, what they're saying basically, and it was Amy Coney Barrett, who has turned out to be the least Trumpy.
Surprise!
Except for Roe v. Wade. She has turned out to be the least Trumpy SCOTUS appointment. And of course, Roberts. And basically what it comes down to is that, bro, you can handle your disagreements on appeal. At the end of the day, you're not going to jail. So you will be a felon. You're already a convicted felon. So the sentence is just, we're basically saying once the sentence
you're a convicted felon.
Yeah, you're a convicted felon. And that status doesn't change. You're basically not going to get any penalty for being a convicted felon.
Right.
So
suck it up, buttercup. Bro, like it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's not like
travel to different countries as a felon.
No.
Well, some countries don't accept him now.
But
even though he's president, will he be able to supersede that?
No.
Okay.
Because the thing is, those are their laws, not ours.
Yeah, those
he
are
only
ours.
has control over American laws, if that.
Right.
And so some countries be like, yeah, we didn't like you no way. So why would we bend the law for you?
Scotland.
Did y'all see this video that came around? It was just some random white people in the UK, and they spotted a white guy wearing a MAGA.
Oh my God, yes.
And they were like, did you see that? It's MAGA. Oh my God. Oh my God. What do we do? And like they really were looking at him like a kangaroo had jumped into the middle of the street. And I loved it. I love that people are treating him and his minions as pariahs around the world.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that was shocking, and of course he's trying to distract. He's the distractor in chief. But this whole thing about making Canada the 51st state and just wrangling the Panama Canal and just trying to annex Greenland because it's in our security interest. We have partners, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we've got more bases in Germany than we do in Greenland. So that's in our strategic.
Know that.
Well, that's probably true. I guess the whole thing is that what some pundits are saying is that the corporate news media, especially those entities that are either partially or wholly owned by Bezos and Disney and some of the other people who have basically bent the knee, they aren't interested in putting out bad or unfavorable coverage about Trump. Because
they know that, honestly, they could die for it. That is where we are. Make no mistake. Bad mouthing, because like Saturday Night Live made a joke about it right after the election, but they weren't really joking. Make no mistake. If he feels that you are making him sad or feel bad or question his own virility, because it's always down to his dick, then all he has to do is say, this person is out to get me. And his minions already proved that they'll kill politicians for him. They will come for you.
Right.
Because like, if you think about it, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen more political assaults than we have in any decade prior. And it's ramping up. So yeah, people are like, nobody in this country, with the exception of maybe 30 or 40% of the military, is really willing to die for this country.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, I'm gonna just let it happen. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Targaryen mug.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sitting here drinking my Wakanda tea. So Brooklyn Tea brewed this.
It's a Wakanda brew.
It's called, I don't know if you see, Wakanda.
Wakanda. Okay, Wakanda.
Wakanda, they'd have to trademark and get the license for that. So Wakanda, I guess.
Wakanda. Yeah. And Brooklyn Tea is owned by, or helps, one of the founders, if not the founder, is a Spelman grad. And so we always rocking with her stuff. So,
always.
This episode is brought to you by Brooklyn Tea.
Especially the Wakanda blend.
Yes.
Are you suffering from malaise after the election of that orange tyrant?
Mm-hmm. This is what everybody this is what everybody in this image, where is it?
Is sipping.
They're all sipping Wakanda right here. Shout out to Nikki Free, which, if y'all didn't go get her stuff, it already arrived. I got a coffee mug for a friend of mine and gave it to her for Christmas, but I got the print. The print is nice. It is really nice. I wish I could show it to you, but it's still in a box.
I got the mug, and I also got a shirt.
Did you ever get your hoodie?
And it came lickety split. Mm-hmm. And I got the tall mug because I like a lot of water when I brew my tea. And so I'm very pleased with it. It is lovely. Thank you so much, Nikki. Mm-hmm. And for those people who are trying to cast aspersions and trying to say that, she's not a Black woman, that it was just an AI knockoff, we explained it on the show. She's working with the author of the image that inspired her.
Yeah.
And the images are definitely very similar, but they are different.
Yeah.
Right. This was the original.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Which I would say is more artistic, but this one hits home to that the American flag, the 92%. This is like Black women for show.
That it is Black women specifically in America. The other image appears that the women are dressed kind of like an African garb or traditional garb. It is less specific to our circumstance,
right?
Whereas Nikki's image, assisted with AI,
right? Like really, if you look here, you see a lot of the like you said, African.
It's a pattern. It's African pattern prints.
Mm-hmm. But right here, these chicks in Brooklyn.
Right. Afros, they got braids, they got the tank tops,
right.
They got the
shorts and the crop shirt. That's Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's straight up America. This is America. So the point is that when you support Nikki, you're also supporting the artist of the other image, because they're collaborating.
And so if you watch, you would have gathered.
Stop. Pay attention.
Thank you, Jermaine.
What did he say?
If you had watched, you would have gathered that.
Well, that's right. And so you can still watch that show to get all of the insight that you need to make better informed decisions. But supporting one is supporting the other.
But you know, that is a great segue into another thing we want to talk about around getting good information, because another one bites the dust. Mark Zuckerberg has decided that he is no longer going to require fact checking or allow fact checking on Facebook, which by extension also means Meta and anything else that is owned under that Meta, Instagram, etc. And what I love is that the first thing somebody did, I want to say this. Business News is like, first Facebook founder and convicted pedophile Mark Zuckerberg, dead at 36, says social media sites should not fact check posts. Yeah, he died of coronavirus and complications from syphilis.
I saw that yesterday and I immediately knew it was like just fake, but it was so delicious to read. I'm like, good, because all this shit is just gonna come out and fucking just make his life miserable. He won't go back on it. And I don't know the ramifications we'll have on it, because people believe what they want to believe anyway. So I really don't know if it's going to change the whole atmosphere of social media. But I feel like it's going to be a lot more chaotic and a lot more name calling, a lot more just outright just shaming, fag,
well, but see, that's
all that.
That is the interesting thing. Just because they're not fact checking doesn't mean they aren't policing other posts.
Right.
So let's be clear. The fact check was unique, more or less, to Trumpian stuff, because
they're alternative facts.
And they're alternative facts. You can still get dinged for saying white supremacy. You can still get dinged for making a disparaging comment that they feel is hate speech. They're just saying all of the people who used to actually go through posts and say, you know, this has been independently fact checked against blah, blah, blah. Those people don't have jobs. So thank you for increasing unemployment, Trump and Zuckerberg. So the bottom line is that
you can also still be sued if somebody discovers that you are the originator of false information and wants to sue you for defamation. That's still something that can be done.
Correct.
And even if you tell the truth about them, if you ain't got the pockets to put up with their long lawyers, you still gonna be broke.
Right.
So again, how does this affect, before you go, how does this affect like the guy Lizzie, I forget his name, and you know the other people who like put people on blast and then want to make them famous for doing some sort of nefarious, severe, racist, or just really derogatory act, and they want their employee to hear about this.
Oh, you're talking about Project Veritas?
Well, just different things here. Like when somebody wants to put somebody on blast for doing this really heinous act, and they want to like notify their employer.
Doxing people is still a thing.
Oh yeah, doxing people is definitely.
So that doesn't,
you can still do that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, he's just saying the people I used to pay to actually do fact checking to kind of clean things up and make sure that stuff wasn't absolutely nuts. That just isn't a thing anymore. So independent people can make their own comments, which I don't know why you would depend on independent people as opposed to people who were basically paid to be neutral and actually centered on facts. But the idea that free speech and we just that's his little cushion. Oh, it's all about free speech. It's all about free speech. Well, but there are some constitutional constraints to free speech.
Right.
And nothing he was doing was tremendously out of order with those fundamental precepts of monitoring the public discourse and making sure that shit wasn't going totally crazy. But here we are. And he owns two of the biggest remaining sites, which is why it's extra galling that, I deplatformed off of X.
Yeah, I could use an X a long time ago, but like he has Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
And that's, to your point, they stop fact checking. That also means Bob is making the point I was about to make. Zuckerberg cannot afford to upset Trump, so he has to stop fact checking, because the lies over the next 4 years are going to be epic. And nobody that wants to live, I continue to say, is going to get down to this. Nobody that wants to live and continue to thrive and continue to not be blacklisted. We're headed towards another McCarthy era, all that kind of stuff. Nobody that wants to be on the bad side of Trump is going to do anything to rock the boat right now. They're all getting in line. They none of them would have done some of the things that they're doing had he not won this election, but he did. And now boom goes the dynamite. Like it's a domino effect. You're going to see this over and over again where people capitulate out of self-preservation.
Right. But it's only the population with a lot to lose. I mean, with people who have deep pockets, those are the ones that are going to be capitulating to them. People like us on the ground who really don't give a damn, we're going to be out there telling the truth and insisting that what we're saying is the truth.
Let me ask you, do you know what happened to all the activists out of Ferguson? Where are they now?
Shit.
I mean, but there are still activists out there.
Right. I mean, but they can all be shot. TikTok. They can all be hung and they can all be burned.
So when they come for steel, sharp, and steel, what do?
I'm going to say that wasn't me.
Because you guys are talking up as cases if we're sitting ducks for what they're getting ready to do. And we might as well just,
if we had a bigger viewership, we probably would be.
Yeah. But everybody, listen, there is still space for conscientious discord. And, one of my favorite networks is the Midas Touch Network. They're growing. They hit 3 million subscribers. They hit 3.5 million subscribers. They're still growing after.
But that's what I'm not understanding. What's the use of them even pushing to grow and expand when they're going to be subject to all of these?
They're on YouTube. So that's Google, and Google has not, made these same sorts of decisions. I guess, Google is thinking more globally than Facebook is for whatever reason, because there's certainly plenty of places across the globe that are not pro-Trump. So, you're making a choice, and that choice may come to bite you in the ass, just,
Right.
But I think that I feel compelled. I won't even say it's our response. I'll say I feel compelled to still do what we do, because I think we're contributing something positive to the discourse that is important. And I think more than ever before, when you're facing with the destruction of the Department of Education, you're facing already the abject removal of DEI, as though DEI was some bad thing, from corporations, from the educational space. You're seeing threats of removing funding of public institutions if they have a Black curriculum, or things like the Trail of Tears being excised from curricula.
Right, just so they can do it all over again if they start trying to deport millions of people.
Exactly. So to me, I think there's an urgent need and a necessity for dissenting voices to keep pushing things out there. And I think there's a psychological benefit to knowing that people have a place that they can come and they can listen to informed voices that they trust, voices that they know are going to be giving them unvarnished information and information that they can use. So,
well, I'm just basically saying it was always those voices that were pushing against, the McCarthyism and those extreme, movements back in the day that ultimately got us to where we are.
A lot of them were ruined in the moment. A lot of them were lost their careers, lost their livelihood. And it does come down to
isn't that what it takes?
I was about to say, it does come down to what are you willing to sacrifice? You think about James Baldwin, who is one of my personal heroes. He spent a lot of time overseas because he's like, I'm gonna do it from over there. I'm not gonna be here because y'all stupid. And that is looking more and more attractive. And right now, if I look at our stats, we have like 5 live viewers. We are not rocking the boat on a national level, but this is therapy for the 3 of us, for these other 5, for the another 30 or 40 some people that are going to watch it on a delay, and for the other couple hundred that are going to watch it, Saturday morning or whenever. And so that is an extremely small community, but it also it's I'm here because I want to be. Well, I don't get paid for this. And so that's another level of it is we are not a business. We are just some people having fun on the internet. Coming after us does them nothing. And we're also, everything that we share is pretty much our opinion on something else that has already been shared. It's those originators that have a bigger platform like Joy Ann Reid, or, as a matter of fact, most of the stuff she does is regurgitated too. But Brian Tyler Cohen, I think is his name. Some of them that have large platforms, I could see them, the thing is, if what, just to put it plainly and potentially a little bit racist, if a lot of white people know about you, you might be in a little bit more trouble. But our audience is full of Black people who are Black, and then white people who are not going to tell on us. So I think we're good.
Thank you, Bob Breeden, by the way. So I think And let's move on to some more stuff because there's been so much stuff
Yes.
to talk about. I guess we did mention Wicked before our hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you had seen it yet, Joy, or maybe it was just Nikki that hadn't seen it.
I think it was just Nikki because I saw it over Thanksgiving.
Okay,
and
great.
I think we did one more show.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jermaine, you saw it as well? Twice.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 times. But I think the most interesting thing to come out of that, aside from the fact that it was extraordinarily well done and it is doing very well, I think it is now the highest grossing movie musical, I think, in history. And certainly when Wicked Endgame comes out next year, it's going to make another $500 million very easily. But the thing that came out as a follow-up to Wicked was that Cynthia Erivo is out there in these Marvel Cinematic Universe streets talking about she wants to play Storm.
Yeah.
And because of her box office heat right now, it has perhaps never been more possible for Cynthia Erivo to tackle a movie role like that. And I, for one, I think she would rock Mohawk Storm, to be honest, because she's already rocking the bald, and so to get her in a Stormy and Mohawk, I think
she's got the look for it. She can definitely do the acting. Like she's up for it. I could see her doing that.
She's striking while the iron is really hot right now.
Absolutely.
She's on everybody's tongue. Her performance in Wicked was just beyond what anybody thought it would be, because it's just, I mean, when you think of the Wicked Witch, you don't think of it in the way that she brought it to life. So many people are extracting personal journeys out of her performance. So it's going to live well beyond this. And she's doing what she should be doing. That's what, a lot of people who are business people in this entertainment industry, you put your brand out there and you make people see you in different lights. You drop hints. She didn't just drop a hint. She pretty much said, powers that be,
pay attention.
Seats.
I volunteer as tribute.
Storm. Yeah. If you want people to come see your movie, right here. So
I'm that one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's anybody out there who is even close in terms of having the demonstrated box office, because this is a movie that hangs on her and Ariana Grande.
Right.
And I think more people thought it would hang on Ariana Grande, but I don't think that has proven to be true, because it is Elphaba's story. Right. And she does such an incredible performance.
Yeah, even though Ariana has more screen time than her, but she steals every scene she's in, and the story, and she does it so well. There's so much gravitas to her performance. Like, she did an amazing Oscar. And I love the fact that when they nominated them for Oscars, they nominated Ariana as supporting actress, so they wouldn't go up against each other.
Correct.
That was brilliant.
No, it's very wise, and it'll be. And I don't know the play. I've read the book, but I know that the play is
well,
right. Well, but I'm saying the play only runs about the length of the first part of the movie. It's not a 5-hour play. So it would be interesting to see if they pull more from the book, or if the second part is going to do more so getting into the picking up where the Wizard of Oz kind of left off, and covering more of that ground, because the book doesn't do that so much.
I read the book, saw the play, saw the movie. So I can tell you that they've already gone more in depth with certain aspects, specifically the animal rights aspects of the book. They brought that more into the movie, because you can do it, because you can have anthropomorphic animals and everything on screen in the way that you can't with a dude with a lion mask on a plate. So they're digging into that, which is why so many people are uncomfortable, because if you saw the play, they gloss over that a lot.
Yeah,
when I saw the play, I was like, what about the animal right? That was one of the things I liked so much, because I identified with the silencing of voices and the loss of history and everything. And it's because they're digging into it. And so many people that love the play and never read the book were like, why does Wicked have to be woke? Bitch, because it was woke when it was written.
Exactly. And a lot of people would leave the play just wondering, like, how did this lead to that? How did this lead to that? Because there was just a lot of patches. Even when I saw when Ben Vereen played the Wiz back in New York. He was awesome, by the way. And as much as I love the soundtrack, because I went in kind of knowing all the score, I was like, this was kind of holy. I'm missing it. There's something here that I'm missing. And then I was able to put it together when I sat down, because I've never read the book. But when I sat down and watched the movie, I was like, that's what that meant when they did that on stage. So a lot more was cohesive. And plus, it's just a cinematic, presentation. You're going to see different things, that you can't do on stage.
That's what I feel glad that I hadn't seen the stage production before I saw the movie, because I feel like the way the movie can do things like split screen on Popular or Loathing, and you can have different cuts, and you can do extreme close-ups, and you can do this. I mean, to understand that the ultimate moment of defying gravity is Idina Menzel in a big black dress on a lift versus seeing Elphaba fly through the sky and do all that stuff. It's like there's no way.
There's no comparison.
As emotional or as gripping. And just to know that Elphaba's falling and she sees her younger self and then she reaches out.
You don't get any of that in the play because you can't.
Because you can't do it. It's not possible. So I'm glad I was exposed to it. Well, I guess I read the book first, but I'm glad I was exposed to the musical in this way.
Yeah.
And I thought they just did a very, very good. Who's seen Six Triple? Okay.
I have.
I'm interested for us to talk about this because I don't know that we're all going to agree, and so I'm ready to squabble. So I'll let y'all go first. Who wants to? No, I'm gonna let Jim. I'm already looking at Tom's face. I'm gonna let Jermaine go first. Jermaine, tell me what you thought of the movie.
Okay, let me start off with this. I was informed beyond measure, and that superseded a lot of the critiques I had of the movie. I had to go back and realize and pick things apart that were kind of rubbing me because of the way that I was introduced to this subject matter. I was a little pissed. I was like, wait a minute, how come I don't know about this? I was like, there was no footnote anywhere. So once I got over my, just delight of just learning stuff, and then digging to find out that, some of the things that they use to trace these people back, that is fact.
Yeah.
The way those Black women's and their brains were working, tracing those letters back to the original authors. I was like,
this perfume is from Indiana. Yeah.
On the hills of, the 92 percenters. I was like, this is just perfect. So when I got over that and calmed down, the writing kind of bothered me. Some of the inconsistencies, and I don't want to give it away because you may not see it. But the way it even started, the introduction, the thing that they had to kowtow to, I don't think we needed an interracial relationship in the beginning. I don't think we needed all that. I saw all of the doors opening to invite more people in that he was using, and I was like, is that necessary? I mean, can it just be our story? Can it just be ours? Precious was nobody but ours. Why we didn't invite them in? So why did he feel like he had to do that with this one? So that kind of rubbed me a little bit, but I just walked away from it just feeling just glad that I was able to learn a bit of history.
Okay.
That's it. And I'm not going to leave the real deep critiques to you guys because I'm pretty sure you can.
No, I will say, I look forward to the Ava DuVernay documentary about this story because like you, I was like, wow, I can't believe I've never heard this before. But also like you, I regretted, even though he was the person, Tyler Perry was the person who either found the story or had the story brought to him and wrangled it or whatever. I wish that he had taken a page out of the playbook of some other kind of comprehensive creator, director, whatever's, and said, maybe somebody else should write this. I'll be the producer. And I'll shoot it on my sets or do whatever. But maybe I shouldn't try to tackle a historical factual drama because it's really not, to me, it's not. Thank you. And to that point, Red Tails was a miss for me. And
Yeah.
I really wanted Red Tails to be satisfying because
the
you know,
problem with Red
as,
Tails is that it was made so long ago, and then they just canned the film. Then they released the old film, and so a lot of the graphics and a lot of the stuff just felt 15 years old.
yeah, and listen, I am all and Kerry Washington got a check, and you know, we didn't have to see too many snot bubbles. So all of that's great. I just think that in the current environment, you don't get many opportunities to tell a historical fact-based story that is not centered in trauma and pain and degradation, especially of Black women. And so I would have appreciated a more thoughtful handling. I would have appreciated a story that didn't feel like it was laden with Perryisms. Which is what I walked away.
What do you mean
kind
by
of,
Perryisms? What do you mean?
I mean, there's just certain things that you have come to expect in a Tyler Perry movie.
I don't watch
And,
a lot of them, so.
Okay. Well,
The
if
grandmother.
if we were being
entire Perryism.
if we were being comedic, you'd start off with perhaps bad wigs, and then you'd segue into light-skinned male protagonists who save the day versus dark-skinned dudes who are apparently inherently evil for some reason. One of the notable exceptions would be the darker-skinned brother from Why Did I Get Married, who ends up sweeping Jill Scott off her feet.
Right.
But also her ex-husband was dark-skinned and possibly the most evil Black actor working to Richard Jones. He's just always playing an evil asshole. So the point is that I, like you, I was very impressed that the opening minutes seemed to be a big budget war recreation production. I was like, oh, okay, look at all this. And then 5 minutes later, it was him hitting on a Black girl. And I was like, wait, this is where we're anchoring? I mean, this is where we're kicking this story off with his brave support of this Black sister. And then I was just like, oh, that's a good fact. Oh man, that's a great story. And it just felt like some strung together vignettes, almost like how for color, like he did for Color Girls, which of course was, again, not his original source material. He was adapting it. But in For Color Girls, it was like all these different little vignettes that weren't really a film or a show. They were just these different stories of these Black women. And it felt a little like certain parts of the film weren't as cohesive. I mean, there was obviously the thread of these letters and you know, getting back and all of that. But I longed for what Ryan Coogler might have done with it, or Ava DuVernay, or Nia DaCosta, or anybody who wasn't him. I guess that's what I kind of
Well, what kind of threw us off, Tom, is that the weave, because we got the weave of all this history, and then we got the weave of him doing what he does. It was like back and forth.
And weave is a good verb.
It was. It's like, wait a minute, this is brilliant, because they're giving us this history lesson, and then they pull us out by him just doing something so Tyler Perry-esque. It's like, damn, So that's the kind of issue that I was having with it.
Right.
So I will remind you before I begin speaking that I did not interrupt y'all.
Okay, we're gonna shut up.
Okay.
I'm gonna shut up, brother.
Okay, thank you. I love this movie. I saw it twice. I thought it was really good. I hate Tyler Perry's movies. And so some of the things some of the tropes y'all talk about, yes, I've seen the wig thing. I know that his writing has massive plot holes and stuff in it, but very early on in the movie, I found myself not paying attention to what was being said and feeling things. I found myself feeling a lot more than listening to actual dialogue. And then being a Black woman, I'm watching these women be discounted, have to do twice as much to get half the respect, doing everything that they're supposed to do and still being told it's not enough, being treated like trash and still showing up to do the work that needs to be done, something bigger than themselves. I'm seeing them, and then the issue with the girl that was, I thought it was far-fetched. I was like, I really don't think this little Jewish white boy would have been dating this black girl. I don't know if that's true or not, because that woman was still alive when the movie was first being put together. So I don't know if that is her true story or not. But to the point of why can't it just be for us? When you want something to be considered for awards and everything, you got to bring them into the theater. Yes, you do, because I'll give you some examples. I get Precious transcended because it was trauma. It was massive trauma. I saw Precious once. I don't ever want to see that movie again in my life, because it eats away at my soul. It ate away at my soul. The name Precious aggravates the ever-loving shit out of me. I would never watch that movie again. But then I think about, for me specifically, Straight Outta Compton. I liked Straight Outta Compton. I thought it was a good movie. It was about NWA. It was a historical piece and everything, and it gave a really good example. I know they skipped some things because they didn't want to talk about some stuff, but it gave a really good history of that group, and it didn't get considered at all because white folks were like, that's too loud, and so they didn't watch it, and so they didn't vote for it, so they didn't get any Oscar nominations whatsoever because they didn't come, right? And so when you want, we are still only 13% of this country. So when you want something to be massively popular, you got to give them a reason to at least show up in the theater. And then he died early. I like that he was the first one to die in the movie. So, that's a little revenge there. But it also gave later reason, a very emotional moment of, this is why we're doing this. These letters are why we're doing this. And then the big circle, and ultimately she did end up marrying another dude, spoiler alert, but the big circle around that early guy and him kind of being in her ear. He's the whole reason she joined the military. And that little romance and her deciding to go into the military brings you to everybody else. You never meet anyone else if we don't follow her little story into why, which I do think is a nod to the fact that she was still alive to talk about this. Kerry Washington's character, it took me a minute to get used to that accent she was throwing. And I'm like, what is this? But then again, I got away from the accent and away from what she was saying. And I'm watching her face. And I'm remembering when I made that face. And I'm listening to her to put up with stuff. And I remember when I had to put up with that stuff. So I was absolutely relating to Carrie in the moment. And when she did the whole Over My Dead Body, I'm crying. And I've never had a Tyler Perry movie move me to anything. And I'm sitting there crying. I'm like, yes, I got it. I understood where he was going. And so all the other things faded away from me because I was completely wrapped up in Kerry Washington's performance. I thought she did an amazing job, but I do think that having gone through some of the things that she's going through in the movie, I think I had a different perspective, because I put 11 out of 10 on the internet. I was like, this movie was great. 11 out of 10. People were like, oh, it was trash. And the plot holes and all. I was like, what plot? What? Because I felt it and I didn't listen to it. I didn't pick it apart with anything else. I was feeling what was happening. So it was a different experience for me. I love the movie. I told you I was going to squabble.
Barry Jenkins' Moonlight won Best Picture in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular movie was nothing but the Black gay male's perspective. Mm-hmm. It won Best Picture, the top prize of the night. So no, they don't always have to be invited.
After a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was just.
No, I understand.
Name. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But they won the trophy. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that pretty much erases some of that argument that you're making, that they always have to be invited.
One example does not erase my argument, but I hear what you're saying.
Hold on.
I said
I don't think I don't feel compelled to talk about erasure of any of Joy's statements. So I just want to ask.
I said some of the argument. Aren't we having a discourse over this? Yeah. Did we say we're going to have a discourse?
We are, but the discourse, she said she liked it and you said you didn't like it.
And, she said something that I needed to refute with a little bit of fact. So that's all that I was doing.
So Tom, you stay out of this. So Jermaine, I hear you. What I said was, when you have what I maybe could have corrected it to be is, if you want a better shot of more people appreciating your movie, you need to give people who are not in that race or gender a reason to go.
Now you're talking about putting bodies in the seats. I get that.
Yes.
As opposed to like being awarded with a trophy. That's a different thing.
Right. But and then to your point about because nobody's going to see a Tyler Perry movie. Like, he has his audience. And when you hear Tyler Perry's anything, right, I'm not going. But so many people told me about this. I was like, well, I guess, I mean, it's on Netflix. I guess I'll watch it, and was blown away and watched it twice. And so I think there will have a whole lot of other people who won't give his movies the time of day, but then they heard about this. They remember Kerry Washington from Scandal. Like, well, I guess that I tried. And so you get a bigger audience. And that, again, that trope of him with the interracial dating and whatever to bring other people in, I don't think it was so much him saying, let's put some white people in the movie so white people go see it, but it gave more of a reason for the whole story. Even though we know all of this happened, to make it cinematic, you can't just say, and then one day there were these black women here. It gave a reason as to why one of them joined, and we follow her into the mix with everybody else. But Moonlight was critically acclaimed, did not do well as far as box office seats, but it was a art house darling.
Right.
Tyler Perry's movie was not going to Cannes.
Yeah.
And so they're two different genres. That's why I say that example cannot.
And that's why I said some of the argument, not the entire whole argument, some of the argument. That's why I said some of the argument.
So I would ask, if you were to compare Hidden Figures and how Hidden Figures was crafted as a movie telling the story of an underexplored set of women. And you would compare that movie to 688. Do you, because I definitely had some emotional response. Taraji P. Henson, especially in that bathroom scene, which was totally invented. It was not real.
I've actually used that scene in some of the workshops I teach. Yeah.
So where would you compare them in terms of not only your impressions, I guess, because you made a point of saying that you kind of glossed over some things that other people saw because you were responding emotionally to how you felt and looking at Carrie, and very much so putting it on your own, matching it and mapping it to some of your own experiences. Where would you put those two in comparison to one another in terms of scale?
I don't think,
if you wanted to. In
terms of, when you say scale, you mean like
I'm sorry. In terms of a recognition of quality, an evaluation of their quality, their relative quality to one another.
It's a little weird for me because I recognize the set for Hidden Figures. They filmed that on Morehouse campus. I saw Grace Hall. I'm like, I've been through there. I know where y'all at. And so that did take me out of it a little bit. But I will say the story was better crafted. To your point, and this goes back to Jermaine's point, Kevin Costner was the draw for that movie, right? For people who don't look like us. Kevin Costner's in a movie. I'm going to go see Kevin Costner. And that whole scene that we're talking about with the bathroom was made up so he could be a hero in that moment. Not going to sign on that. None of that shit ever happened. Right. But he's like, we all pee the same color. But that was so contrived to me that it bothered me. I was like, really? This is what we're doing? But the movie itself, I use it, like I said, I use that scene because I'd like to explain to people how sometimes when you are talking to a Black woman and she's dealing with one set of discussion because he's coming down on her for not being in her seat, and she's like, I got her to the bathroom. There's privilege in there. There's misunderstanding her plight in there. But then she starts talking about, I got a drink from a coffee pot that the rest of y'all don't even want to touch. You want me to wear pearls? I can't afford no pearls. You don't pay me. She went off on 15 different things. And I use that in my workshops to explain to people how sometimes when you talk to a Black woman, she has been holding her own and holding back a lot of bile for a long time. And her response to your transgression might not be proportional to that transgression. It's proportional to the accumulation of what she's had to put up with for the last 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years. And so sometimes you're going to get it. And if you don't understand that you happen to be the right person at the wrong time, then you think that she's crazy. She's an angry Black woman. She's mad. She was yelling at her boss in that scene. And so again, I felt that because I went off on my boss one time. And it showed up in my performance review and blah, blah, blah. So I feel both of the movies, but I do think from a production value, Hidden Figures is better produced, top to bottom. There's no plot holes. There's no weird writing. There's no affectation of accents that I had to like get used to in order to hear everything. So overall quality, Hidden Figures, top to bottom, wins that out. I think it's a better movie all the way around. But I did like 688 for
Yeah,
what it said. Yeah.
and that's here from my perspective. Anybody who walks away from a piece of art, especially a piece of art that is produced by a Black person, and I will say this, Joy, this story inherently included white people because they was looking through letters for soldiers.
Yeah.
And so the white folks were going to be a part of it because they had to be, because these are white guys writing letters, or white women writing letters, I guess, mostly, now that I think about it, to men serving and trying to get the letters back and forth. And so there was a white angle to it. It's World War II. So there was a white news peg.
You also had that white woman who went to Eleanor Roosevelt like, yo,
right.
we're not getting letters out here. You don't get the 688 to have an assignment overseas without her. So there is some element of they are in the story.
And I don't mind that. That wasn't what my challenge was, but I'm glad to hear that, because to your point, Precious was a small movie like Moonlight, and Monique won an Oscar for Precious. She won an Oscar just like Halle Berry won an Oscar in another small art house darling movie, except that Monique probably played, the most monstrous Black woman ever to win an Oscar, perhaps ever in life. But Mahershala won an Oscar in Moonlight
for like 15 minutes of being in that movie.
Right. And, as a supporting actor. And the interesting thing to me is that perhaps because, Mahershala dies, but the mother, perhaps because we see the mother across generations, I thought her performance was amazing. And I found Trevante Rhodes perhaps a little less so, because by the time we get to him, I thought the constraint of his emotions, especially in the final scene, I thought it was very affecting. I thought that there was a lot of, Barry Jenkins is a favorite director of mine, but it was interesting to me how the award heat was around the non-gay Black characters in a movie that was, to Jermaine's point, about that point of view. They didn't award any of the gay male. Well, I guess Barry Jenkins was up. He probably won adapted screenplay and best picture.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah,
the performances that were called out, that were noted, were not around the central character, which I found to be interesting. But I think people, what I was trying to say is that anybody who gets something out of a piece of art that is produced by Black creatives, there are going to be some Black people who are going to take something away from it that is fulfilling for them. And that is perfectly fine.
And
it just
Black
wasn't
people
for
will
me.
make Black people the heroes. In Hidden Figures, Kevin Costner had to be the white savior. He had to be the hero, and the heroes were those 3 Black women.
Right.
Well, but that was one scene.
But what I'm
saying, it was more than one scene.
Like, hero of the movie, he gave her. He pretty much recommended that she do all of this at the freaking urging of Octavia Butler's, character. He made it all happen. They were the brains, but until he was convinced it wasn't going to happen, so he was the savior. He won the day.
He brought her in the rooms where nobody else wanted her to be in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but that also likely happened. The fact that he didn't tear down the bathroom sign doesn't negate the fact that a white person did need to co-sign on her to get her into where she got.
True.
I recognize that he was the doorway, but in my opinion, in that movie, those 3 women that were profiled, they were the heroes. Kevin Costner was a necessary element just because of the racism of the time. But aside from that one scene where he, his character did something that didn't ever happen in real life, I felt that the focus was clearly on those 3 stories, and perhaps Octavia and Taraji more so than the
Janelle Monáe.
But
impressed the hell out of that Polish guy.
Gregory has a great comment down here, because this was the same feeling I felt about Hidden Figures, in that, he went to the same college as her and they didn't know about her until this movie. I did 3 internships at Johnson Space Center. I had never heard of her. I'm an engineer in training or whatever at Johnson Space Center. We have never heard of Katherine Johnson. And so, yeah, until this movie. And so I'm like, I was right. Why ain't nobody saying nothing? And there were Black engineers there. One of my uncles worked there at the same time. And nobody was talking about it. And so when we talk about, I love the fact that people are saying like 6888 is the hidden figures of the military, and something else is going to be the hidden figures of this, because we're getting more and more of this information history that has been purposefully erased. Matter of fact, there was a comment earlier that talked about, and yeah, you're right, Taraji, she went off, she sealed it, but we talk about the Red Tails and the 6888 in World War II, but there were Harlem Hellfighters in World War I. And people forget that there were Black. And the only reason I know about them is because some brave soul at, I want to say it was Electronic Arts maybe, put whichever group does Battlefield as a video game, they put a Black guy on the cover of a World War I Battlefield game, and the internet trolls lost their mind. They're like, why's it gotta be woke? This isn't even factually correct. And they were like, excuse the fuck out of you, Harlem Hellfighters. And the whole game, you play first person view, you don't see anybody. Right? It didn't even matter, but they have a moment at the beginning of the cutscenes where they show the Harlem Hellfighters. They were the most feared regiment because they just could not be put down, right? And they deserve to be recognized. Of course, they come back to the United States and treated like trash. And that happens over and over again. And that was in the epilogue of 6888, to come home and realize that the country that you've served and done so much for don't give a damn about you, over and over and over again. And so here we go again. Look up Harlem Hellfighters. Yeah.
I think what we ought to do, us 3, during the next 4 years, is just build some kind of campaign and just go stand at the entrance of Tyler Perry Studios and make him hire writers.
Y'all trying to get me fucked up because I'm the only one that lives here.
We'll come. We have the next 4 years to just play around and do whatever. But I feel like that this needs to be a movement, because he has all of the elements in place. It's all there. Everything was at his disposal. He had the whole freaking world of Netflix. The producer of Netflix, her name is Nicole Avant. She's married to the Netflix CEO. She's a sister. So it was at his feet. So I was like, you have all these resources at your freaking fingertips, and yet you're choosing to be so freaking stingy.
That's ego.
That's the biggest problem. The narcissism is the biggest problem.
Ego,
he should be. He's not. What is it? Tom Sheridan? Who's the Yellowstone guy?
I don't know.
So I think it's Tom Sheridan. He is the male Shonda Rhimes. He's got Yellowstone, he's got Lioness, he's got Landman. Taylor Sheridan, I think is his name. Taylor Sheridan.
Married to Helen Mirren. Yeah, exactly.
So this is a guy who is producing so much high quality content. You expect that he's going to be the guy who's got to write it, because that's the whole thing. Like, the writing is incredible. When you're Tyler Perry and you've made your money doing your thing, I think that's fine. But when you treat your writers like crap, and everything has to be you, and you've got to jam out the 18 scripts for this show or that show or whatever, and it doesn't matter to you that you because of your wealth, not just some Diddy dollars, you've got wealth, you've got your own means of production, you have so much power, you could be doing so much to tell good, high quality stories. And you've placed yourself in this box of, and that's true. That is perhaps true, Vince, but that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
The problem with Tyler is that he either doesn't listen to or doesn't have anyone to tell him, bro, you tapped out. Like, there is a limit to his ability to create stories that differ from previous stories. And so he has his tropes, his things that he leans on. And I'm not even going to throw stones, because when I do my work, there are things I recycle. I recycle some slides. I recycle an idea. I'll be like, I did this last year, it still work. But when I reach a point where they're like, can you do a workshop about this? You know what? Let me call my dude Taurus, because Taurus knows about this better than I do. And I reach out to my network because I know that for this particular thing, they're better at it than me. And I feel like he thinks I got this because I'm Tyler Perry. Now, he could be the next level Steven Spielberg producer, produce.
Right.
Produce. Steven Spielberg is a household name. He don't be writing nothing, right? He lets other people do that. And when you talk about creating jobs, you got a lot of jobs for actors, apparently not as many for makeup and wigs, but you could be hiring some people for writing as well. And that could be launching more careers. There's an opportunity to be the godfather of Black Hollywood if you let off the reins a little bit.
Dad was. He was called the godfather of Black Hollywood. His name was Clarence Avant. Remember back in about maybe 5 years.
He was Black ago, music.
The Black Clarence music guy, exactly. His wife was killed in a home in Beverly Hills. I forget her name. Those are her parents. I mean, she comes from royalty out here as far as Black Hollywood.
Oh yeah, so, no. Look, Clarence Avant was a brilliant
I forgot that was Fort McPherson. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know, we are just over an hour, and we've been talking about some good Black stuff, which makes me feel good because I don't feel like talking about
I don't either.
Orange Pinocchio. But what else would you say has happened? And I mean, politics is a big thing. Obviously, this is a political show. There's a lot of stuff happening. We have not talked about Jimmy Carter. And since his official funeral was today, I know I posted, and the essence of my post was that I thought and think he has been the best human being to occupy the office of president in my lifetime. And I think he gets a really bad rap because people talk about, the gas prices and the interest rates and all that other sort of stuff. Again, that wasn't something that really fell on him. It happened while he was in office, but he brokered the Camp David Accords.
Yeah.
And got Egypt and Israel to be friends. And
all the things we're trying to do now, he did in the 70s.
He actually did it, and he was brilliant. He was so brilliant that the thing that they chose, like if you look at SNL from back in the day, and all of us are old enough to have watched it, when Gerald Ford was president, Chevy Chase, the only thing they did on SNL was Gerald Ford falling.
All the time.
Okay? When George H.W. Bush was in office, you had Dana Carvey, not gonna die.
Yeah.
It was all
read my lips.
Right. When they lampooned Jimmy Carter on SNL, it was literally that he was so smart, any American could call into a call-in show and ask a question, and he had the answer.
Yeah.
That was the fault. That Jimmy Carter was so driven and so smart and so earnest and so awesome that he literally had a mail carrier call in and say, well, it's jamming. And he said, can you turn to page 453 in the manual? You'll see that there's a slot there. You need to move it from position A to position B. I think that'll unjam your situation for you. I mean, he was, and to come out of the presidency, and he did the Carter Center and taught Sunday school into his 90s, was building Habitat for Humanity.
Yes, he was.
Not just holding a hammer, not supervising with a megaphone. Bam, 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 building goddamn houses. It was a rite of passage for a whole generation of people in Atlanta to have built a house that Jimmy Carter worked on. I mean, and he doesn't get enough credit because he was a one-termer and he was followed. He was hated. That goes to show you how this country has been headed towards where we are the whole time, because he was seen as a failure of a president when he was in office. He absolutely was not. And I was so pleased. I don't know if you all saw the clip. Kamala Harris was sitting right in front of Barack Obama and Donald Trump. And Barack was President Obama was pretty chummy with Donald Trump. And there's a moment where she notices the movement out of the corner of her eye, and she turns around and she sees that Barack Obama is smiling while talking to Donald Trump. And she does one of these. Like, I know this motherfucker is not palling around with this bastard.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah,
bruh. And so, but Mike Pence's wife, I don't know if you all noticed this. Al Gore stood up. Mike Pence stood up. Mike Pence's wife was like,
as was George and Laura Bush.
Oh, George shaded the hell out of his ass, walked right past. Yeah. So, I think it's a time that the nation should recognize more about the achievements of an underlauded and underappreciated president, and the side bonus that flags have to be flown at half-mast because a president has died, and that means they're going to be at half-mast during the inauguration. I don't hate that. I don't hate it at all.
I feel like that might have been his last little revenge.
Listen.
Yeah.
But President Carter was a moment like that we didn't appreciate or recognize. I was barely born when he was president, but he was president when I was a little kid. I remember the gas shortage being a problem. I think Gregory mentioned earlier, like inflation was high. Same sort of shit we hear now. Like these things that the economy and politics are only slightly related. The economy is going to do it. It's its own religion. It's going to do what it wants to do if you believe it's going to do the things it needs to do. Whoever's in the White House, and by extension, whoever's in Congress, they control some of it, but it's more sentiment. If you think it's going to be great, it'll be great. If you think it's going to go belly up, it'll go belly up. And he got blamed for a lot of stuff that he honestly didn't have nothing to do with. But
it was the timing of his presidency, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, the world was fed up with Republican leaders during that time. You had Nixon, who was freaking, he had to resign. And then Gerald Ford didn't know what the hell he was doing, so nobody really cared for him. So there's like, why not give this? Because he was a long shot. And what office did he have? Did he even have an office when he ran?
He was a governor.
Michelle was not having it. She's like, she probably paid her respect separately. She's like, I refuse to sit next to that orange taco head.
He was in Congress.
Yeah.
And then I think he was governor of Georgia. The thing that's interesting to me, especially about the gas prices, because again, I remember even plates and odd plates. I mean, I was just a kid.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
I remember that. Yeah. What he means is, everyone, if you had an even number on your license plate, you had a certain day to get gas versus the odd.
And then if you had an odd number, you could not get gas on an even number day. You just couldn't, because they were rationing. But this is the time when OPEC actually had the world in a stranglehold. I had never heard of OPEC before Jimmy Carter came into office. They were a thing, I guess, but it was all of a sudden, I have a very strong memory of being a kid and thinking those OPEC people are evil because they have all the gas and they don't want to give us any gas. That was where my little 8-year-old brain was, or whatever it was at that time. And I just didn't ever feel that was Jimmy Carter's fault.
Right, because you're rational.
Right. We didn't have, I knew Texas had oil, but the technology that we have today that we're using to exploit our natural resources were not what we had, 40 years ago.
We imported everything. Yeah.
Right. And so we were under their thumb. I looked at a documentary that showed the prime interest rate was 17%.
Wow.
When Jimmy Carter was in office. And can you imagine what your mortgage would be with a 17% interest rate? But again, that's not on him. And we got a president in Ronald Reagan, who was a former movie star and a governor of a big shiny state, and he knew how to give a speech, but he was a bastard.
Yeah.
Well,
he was getting at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, what was happening during that time, I've since learned, because I did some digging because I really don't remember a whole lot about Jimmy Carter, but there was a shift that was happening on the Republican side where they were really trying to find a way to open their tent. Segregation, desegregation, they had lost that battle already. So they were like looking for something else to really compel the people. Then they introduced the whole evangelical, the right, the real zealot Christians, and they started appeasing to their needs. And I think that was all happening while Jimmy Carter was in office. So whenever he ran again, that machine was already against him. That plus, with inflation being so high in the price of gas. So I feel like he was just pretty much a placeholder, and they just put up with him while they were trying to get what they really wanted to be done in the way of somebody like a Ronald Reagan. So I just felt like he just had a running start that he to not even win a race that he could have even possibly won.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Gregory, your point here about signing legislation should determine your fate. I got a clip here from Ronnie Chang from his last set, and it is fabulous. But it speaks to the long game that people don't pay attention to. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick, because it is exactly what you're talking about right here.
Make America great again. They have a point. America is not doing so great right now, right? Our kids' math scores are down. Our children's science scores are down. When judged according to international metrics, healthcare system's not doing so great. Wealth gap disparities increasing exponentially. There was an implied promise to a generation of Americans that if you do certain things, work hard, go to college, be a good person, you would have certain outcomes. And those outcomes didn't materialize for a majority of people because baby boomers entrenched in decision-making positions lowered the capital gains tax, so that their net worth essentially compounds year after year. And post-World War II, U.S. leadership traded the domestic manufacturing industry for national security by making the U.S. dollar the default international trade currency, which gave America the ability to impose economic sanctions on foreign countries through the U.S. financial banking system, but consequently increased the value of the U.S. dollar astronomically, which made it impossible for anyone to manufacture anything in America. Although the logic at the time was that Americans were supposed to upskill en masse away from the menial manufacturing jobs. But everyone here's too much of a dumbass to stay in school, so we just traded domestic manufacturing to Asia and the rest of the world at the expense of working class families.
But now we mad at China.
But if you don't read enough, it comes out as, let's go, Brandon! And it's like you have a point, but you don't have the vocabulary to describe your reality because you didn't read enough. You gotta keep reading. Beyond the hashtag, there's a book behind the word. You gotta keep going. You can go at your own pace, but you got to finish the required reading. Otherwise, we can't have a conversation. It's just we're all catching up to each other. Very, very passionate people, my MAGA friends. And I respect their passion to some extent. I do. They're like, man, Ronnie, I love America. I would die for this country. And I believe them. I believe they love America. And I believe they would die for this country, which is very admirable. But it's like, man, you're willing to die for your country. Why aren't you willing to learn math?
I love that clip. That clip was everything.
Mm-hmm. That clip was actually like 3 minutes long. So I was like, I'm gonna cut it right here. But yeah,
when he could barely breathe as he was describing how the U.S. banking industry inflated the value of the dollar in the international market, I was just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's a real shame that people are not willing to do the research that might moderate their instinctual emotional response and make better decisions, because we are in the find out phase right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a country that has set women on fire for disagreeing with their husbands, because that was probably the biggest thing that would get you called a witch, was either to not be obedient to your husband or to be having an affair with a man that would say you bewitched him. That's where we get that from, and say she was bewitching. I thought she was fine, and I cheated on my wife, and she clearly did something to me, so burn her to death. This is a country that used, I put this on Chuck Hobbs. Hey, Chuck, on his page the other day, he was like, I can't believe that they're doing XYZ. I was like, dude, this country, people in this country used to use black babies for bait.
Right.
To catch alligators. I don't put nothing past us. That's a real thing that really happened. And so the idea that we are smart enough to make a good decision continues to be hope springs eternal, because we are never collectively smart enough to make a decision. And if you think about it, we talk about, well, let's get rid of the electoral college because then the popular vote would have worked, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're right. And that's why we have an electoral college, because they didn't never want the average person to be able to make this decision for president. It's working exactly the way it's supposed to. And you got to ask yourself, we've known that it's been a problem for 30 years now at a minimum. And yet, even when we had control of the Senate or the House or the presidency, ain't nobody never really ran up a bill that said, let's get rid of the electoral college.
Nope. Sure didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got Elon Musk, who demonstrated he can literally manipulate an election with $200 million in a platform dedicated to lies. So why would you? Why would you want to change anything? If it's that easy.
Right. That's literally what privilege is. It's not a problem because it's not a problem for me. Correct. And so we're living in, and like you said, a lot of people are finding out. So I don't know if I told y'all, I'm sure I did. Or I think I did, but I maybe didn't. But for all the Sharpies out there, you're going to hear me say this a lot. And it's going to be, you have those memes that say, when I send you this picture, just know that this is what I mean. My mantra for the foreseeable future is the stove is hot. We did talk about that because I talked about you having kids, Tom. And so to reiterate for people that missed it, go back and watch our old shows. But if you're a parent and you see your kid in the kitchen and they're trying to touch a hot stove, you tell them the stove is hot. They keep reaching for it. Stove is hot. They reach again. The stove is hot. And you try over and over again to stop them from trying to touch from hurting themselves because it's going to hurt. They don't believe you though, because they've never experienced that pain. And so they think you're exaggerating, you're lying, you got your alternative facts, whatever. What I don't think, I'm going to get hurt no matter the age, right? They're going to reach for it. And you waste so much time trying to save them from their own folly. Meanwhile, Auntie Joy over here is like, the stove is hot. They're going to reach for it. If I can touch the stove, I'm going to my kid. And then they burn themselves. Now, granted, now I got to take you to the hospital to treat these burns, etc. But I bet you won't touch this stove again. And so America is touching the stove right now. The stove is hot, and I am not here to save you. I'm here to watch you fuck up, and then we'll deal with the aftermath because it's already too late for me to try to protect you from it because we're in it. But go ahead, Julie.
But what he did was, and I guess this is one of his genius ways of, they say now he knows how to manipulate people, and I hate to concede that, but I guess he did. He sold them white elitism. That's what he sold them. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't pack as much weight as it used to for the common white man. The people that are going to profit under Trump are the very top. And to find out, for the most part, with these everyday white people, like, wait a minute, what's in it for me? I voted for you, and you told me you're going to do all this. But unless your pockets are deep, it's not going to really make your life any better. He's already said that he's not going to be able to bring down the price of groceries. Mm-hmm. Remember, he said that like 2 weeks after he won.
And just maybe a couple hours ago, Elon Musk admitted that the little DOGE group that they're with really can't pull any money out of the budget.
Yeah.
Well,
because politicians have known what they're doing this whole time. Yeah.
And you're still going to get the influx of migrants because why? They need them to run those jobs in Silicon Valley. So nothing's going to change. But he sold them on the idea that your white skin is going to make it so profitable for you in these next 4 years. Just freaking vote for me.
I'll expand on what you're saying, actually, Jermaine, because it was, I didn't want to negate what you said because you are right. You are correct. Mm-hmm. It was him trading on white supremacy, but he also traded on sectionalized hate. And what I mean by that is he would tell Group A, who hates Group B, I hate them too. He would tell Group B, who hates Group C, I hate them too. Group C hates Group A, I hate them too. And everybody's so busy focusing on whether it's I hate minorities or I hate women or I hate immigrants or whatever. They don't realize that he's telling somebody else that he hates you. Yeah. And so they got so focused on, let's go get him. Wait, who's stabbing me in the back? And now they all circle jerking, in the wrong way. But the struggle is, I know I'm way out of pocket for that, but the problem is they're starting to turn around and realize they're getting stabbed. But it's too late because you're caught in the circle that you helped me.
They didn't hear it,
So wait a minute. Just before we move on, is a circle jerk the wrong way counterclockwise.
Oh God.
So this is one of the FAFO moments that tickle me about what you were talking about, Jermaine.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing about no taxation on overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to make overtime.
They're voting to cut overtime for 47 million workers. Ain't no more overtime. So yeah, you're not going to get taxed on it because now you're just salary, and so there is no overtime.
Right.
Now you're an
you're still working 50 hours.
Oh yeah, you're still.
But you're not going to make overtime.
But you're not hourly anymore.
Good luck, motherfuckers.
Yeah. How you? And they're like, wait, what now? Mm-hmm. And so the only thing I've already said, 2025 wrap. 2026 November. So you get 2025. Then the election cycle starts in 2026 for the midterms. That's our chance. And I'm going to tell you right now, you millions and millions of Democratic voters who chose not to vote this time, because that's what the difference was. We're not talking about black men. We're not talking about black women. It was all of you people who voted in 2020 and didn't bring your ass out in 2024. That's why we lost the popular vote barely. And that's why we lost the Electoral College, because it was similar numbers to Trump's win in 2016 across the states where he did win, across all of those battleground states. So it was Democratic apathy and, bolstered by misogyny and racism, because that's what it came down to. But in 2026, there is no luxury. In 2026, I need Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, and I need the Senate flipped back. And that's our chance. And then you can send Trump off into that good night. But if you mess around and think that, nothing's going to change, we have prime ministers of some of our tightest historical allies basically telling Trump to F all the way off.
Right. Fuck off into the sun.
Yeah.
That's what the Canadians said.
I don't know why. I don't know all the backstory about why Justin Trudeau decided he was going to step down. But what I do know is that Greenland is like, nah, son.
Yeah. Right. I love that Canada was like, we will not be the 51st state, but you know what we will do? We will take Washington, Oregon, and California from you.
Exactly.
Listen.
I was selling Kiwi to move over. Right.
And guess what?
That is the beginning of Gilead, though.
Canada is, first of all, 50. He doesn't really want Canada.
No. Because
Canada would not be one state. And there is not a single province or territory in Canada that is as conservative as the Red Wall. So if you want to add 12 states that are basically blue, let's have a conversation. But it's not just going to be one. And
they ain't giving their universal health care to come play with us.
No, they aren't.
But I would absolutely look if they annex, I don't know, Detroit or something on the border. Well, I don't know, New York. They could annex New York. New York would go. That would be awesome. And now you're talking about a whole business center that is now in Canada, New York City, Canada. Yo, I'm out.
New York City, Ontario.
Right?
Yeah, I don't want to be, we've said it on this show. Each of us occupies a space of relative.
Chan, you're not wrong about Alberta.
But I said Alberta might be Wyoming, I guess, in terms of whatever. But they're still way outnumbered. I mean, British Columbia, Ontario, certainly Montreal. We're not getting Canada just because of Quebec. Because you'd have to add everything to be in French plus metric system. So it ain't happening. He's just talking shit. He's talking cash shit. There is no Gulf of America. We're taking over the Panama Canal. There is
what's funny?
Greenland.
Somebody asked me with all seriousness, I forget who it was, but they were like, "Why is it called the Gulf of Mexico anyway?" And I was like, "Because they have more of the coastline than America does." I said, and you have to remember when it was named, Texas was Mexico.
Right,
Louisiana was too. So it was the Gulf of Mexico because it's all Mexico, and we're not changing the name. But people, how quickly we forget, you know. I understand why he's talking crazy because it's his brand, and it keeps people from paying attention to anything else that his minions are doing. And he keeps trying. It's his way of trying to look strong. I will take over anything because that's the same thing that Hitler did. I'm going to go take Poland. You can't stop me. I'll send my forces. It won't be war. It'll be a military action or some shit. But yes, distractions. That's all it is distractions because they are steadily passing other little legislations and shit to undermine the safety and infrastructure of the United States, left and right. Anything that poisons water that we put regulations against 15 years ago probably under Clinton or something like that. Anything that poisons water, anything that makes companies have to spend more to be safe, they're getting rid of all that shit. And we're going to be living in the tar pits that are also another part of The Handmaid's Tale. If you didn't get right, if The Handmaid's Tale like really happened in real life, I would be in the tar pits because I can't have children. I ain't cooking shit, and I'm probably not attracted to a lot of them. So they're gonna send me to go work in the tar pits where I die in a year. Yeah, that's my end game right there.
Can I have an example of when a distraction we were like the victim of a distraction? Like what did we get as a result of looking over there? Like what happened? Because I say that myself, like we're being distracted. And I was trying to like cite an example of what were we distracted by when something else was happening.
Well, it's certainly taken the heat off of Hegseth. It's certainly taken the heat off of what's her face, the chick who looks like Tulsi Gabbard.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken a lot of heat off of his nominees.
Okay.
And so I think that is perhaps one thing. I don't know that the energy behind it is going to abate once the actual fights happen.
Right.
But I feel like that's what we were doing.
It's also like his first 100 days plan is garbage.
Yeah. Oh, it's
and
true.
Nobody's calling him on it because we're too busy watching him say crazy things on the internet.
Right. And how windmills are killing whales.
Right. Because what?
And I feel like because he says so much crazy, it's kind of like benign. It doesn't really affect us anymore. We just it's like, oh God, something.
It doesn't, but it does grab the news cycle. And so the news cycle is not paying attention to what they should be paying attention to. They're playing, I don't know, spin the bottle with him every day. Like, what are we going to talk about today? What crazy thing has he done? Because it's more salacious than saying, you know what, we need to pay attention to the fact that the incoming president has no plan for education, has no plan for infrastructure, rebuilding the roads of the United States, has no plan for interstate commerce. Like he got no plan, but he does want to grab Greenland. The fuck?
I think the GOP as a whole, I liken to that the high school jock who comes from money. He's still huge, but he never left that town. But he's living on his glory days when he was young and had all the girls and was a star football player. And that's all he talks about, his glory days. I feel like that's what the GOP is right now. They still think the United States is just loved by all when people are like, no.
They absolutely do. And they convince their constituents
what I'm saying?
I mean, it's like a kind of
it's like really saying, okay, you guys aren't appeal to us as much. Keep it.
It's a kind of gaslighting, where they think about how many Americans don't have a passport, which means they've never been to another country. They don't go overseas. The most they might do is a Carnival cruise, and I said that on purpose. And then you have them thinking that America is great, thinking that it's the best country in the world with the best educational system and the best, and they don't know that we rank 58 out of 58 developed countries. They don't know that we rank we only barely outrank third world countries when it comes to like maternal health. They don't know that we suck at a whole lot of things because they believe that that's just fake news.
They don't know that their own population is only 7% of the worldwide population.
Exactly, but they think that Americans are but that's a part of the propaganda to make white folks think that they outnumber everybody else. You put all the white folks in the world together, and it's maybe 10%. Because think about how small Europe is.
Oh, first of all, Europe isn't even really a place. So Europe is a part, a tiny sliver of the Asian continent.
Yeah.
That they just decided, we we are a separate continent. There's an Indian comedian who was describing continents as basically big giant islands surrounded by water. And so North America continent, South America continent, Africa continent, Australia continent, Antarctica continent. And then it gets to Asia. And he draws a little sliver and he was like, it's not a separate thing. He was like, this is my arm. My arm is on my body. It's not its own thing. It can't exist on its own. And you circle this area, you call that Eastern Europe. No, that is Central Asia. That is what that continent is. There is no Europe. And just because, white people are in Russia and Russia is the biggest country in the world, it's like that buffer, but it's still the Asian continent. But it just there, Britain alone as an island that had naval superiority basically empowered the notion of Europe being its own thing, because they weren't yellow people. Not a continent. Not a continent.
There's one other person I want to talk about because I want to drag her for filth. You put this picture, I believe, in our chat.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Exactly where you're going, and I'm going to get pissed off just looking.
Elizabeth Aaron Ann Stropman.
I was just made aware of this yesterday.
So
evil.
This woman was arrested for breaking the bones of newborn babies in the hospital NICU. But they forgot to mention, they didn't, the general at MC News did not tell you they were all Black babies. She's running around breaking the bones of Black newborns. And the NICU are the very small, premature babies. Yeah.
Wait, put her picture back up.
Put her picture back up.
Yes, please. This human thumb in a Tyler Perry wig was breaking the bones of preemie Black babies. There was a father of twins, and one of his babies only had a broken leg. One of the babies that she assaulted had 12 fractures. And they investigated this woman, gave her a year of paid leave, then let her come back to injure more babies. And so they have the one case right now. The one case, I think, is a maximum of 30 years if they were served consecutively, because it's like 10 years. You can take her off now.
She's stuck up there. Leave it to her to be stuck in the girl. Go away. There we go.
Okay. So it's 10 years on the one thing, and it's like 20 years on the other thing for the one baby. But now they're trying to confirm that she is the person at fault for all of the 7 injuries across the year, and perhaps even more. The Black families are coming out of the woodworks. Ma'am, under the jail is too highly placed.
I just want her to go to jail, because whether they convict her for 1 or for 7, go to jail. Because you know who's in jail at a disproportionate rate?
Black men and Black women.
Black women with babies at the house, honey.
Listen.
Like Vince is like, Noopsy is like, I bet she does less than 10 years. 15 days. That's all we need. 15 days of her being in there.
I need that wig pulled off strand.
And Gregory's right. The parents, if she was investigated and allowed to come back, the parents need to be able to sue the hospital for 10 times whatever their medical bills are.
And I will tell you right now, I know how to pronounce the name of this hospital because I had to pronounce it. There was a player for the Honda Campus All-Star Challenge team from Oakwood University. It's Henrico. It's not Henrico. It's Henrico, because I had to say it like 12 damn times. And I don't care if they bankrupt that hospital.
No.
And I feel sorry for the families that would have the, who would lose that as a resource. But you need to start it from scratch, baby boy.
You know what? And I'm gonna put this up while I'm talking. We need to stop we need to stop asking for reparations.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this is what we need to start doing is stop asking reparations because they're not going to give it to us, but also stop turning the other cheek, because there are so many times that Black people could have sued for something and decided, nah, I'm gonna let it slide, or you know what, I don't have the time, or you know, it is what it is, or you know, God is gonna take it all together. God is gonna get it together at the end. Sue their ass every single time. When you feel like you're being wronged, lawsuit. You lock your keys in the car, sue the car company, right? You having a bad day, sue your therapist who did not figure out how for you to have a good day. Sue everybody and get your money. That's where reparations is coming from. Quit trying to get it from the government and get it from these individuals, because each time, because they're going to continue to do this, each time a Black man is, or a Black woman, a Black person is killed by the cops, sue that police fund or whatever for every dollar they got. And when they start losing money, that's what they understand. And then they'll start changing.
The only thing that moves them is green.
Forget reparations, use repercussions.
Yes! Put that on the shirt. Put that on the shirt. Tom, that's a moneymaker right there. Put that on a shirt. Sell it.
All right, I'll make the shirt.
But I am not 100% sure of his success record. He's on TV a lot. I don't know if he wins.
I don't think this is not this isn't a Crump thing. I don't think. You know, he doesn't go so much on the criminal side. This is a criminal
more
case.
social,
and so he is usually but see, the state is suing her, right? It's not a family suing the state. It's the state who is trying her. So there's really not space for Ben, with all due respect, because you know he's done.
But for a civil suit against the hospital for emotional damage,
even then, I think there are people who are perhaps
better suited,
to tackle the cases. But
so we are at an hour
15,
36 minutes, and I know you have to leave pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to say this real quick before I leave. Along that line that we were just talking about, that in the wake of the fires, they're trying to throw a whole lot of blame on our mayor right now, Karen Bass.
Yeah.
Her proposal when she first got into office was to slash the firefighters' budget by, like, I want to say 22 million, and then they talked her down to around
17.
Well, they talked her down to 17. She started at 22. They talked her down. So now they're trying to place blame as to the response, you know, with that particular number in mind, saying that, you know, she's pretty much one of the driving forces as to why the fires weren't put out in a more timely manner or whatever. That's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, the minute that something happens and we happen to be the face of it, or we happen to be somewhere behind the strings of it, you know, making the decisions, they all of a sudden want to just put every freaking thing on us and just strip away everything good that we've done. Now, who's to say the budget that she did use to, like, slash them with is even the blame for this? I'm not even sure that the whole entire budget was used to fight this one particular fire that we just had, you know. But anytime something goes wrong, they also want to assign blame, especially when we're at at the top of the ticket, you know, making the decisions. So they have no fucking qualms at all, but to, like, throw us under the bus whenever we freaking fuck up. We should fucking match that energy.
Match that energy.
You know what I'm saying? And then the lawsuits may not even go anywhere. But the fact that we just got them tied up in court and somebody's pockets are draining as a result of them, you know, in litigation. And we need to get used to that instead of this turning the other cheek thing that I feel like is pretty much is done.
It has never served us.
Never worked.
Never
worked.
Yeah. So
ever.
I just felt like that was compatible with that, because I've been hearing people all day talk about, you know, this budget that she had, you know, with the firefighters and how that may have factored into the response. And I don't really know the methodology behind all that stuff. So I don't know how it works, but I have a hard time assessing blame to her.
I mean, they act like California ain't been on fire every decade.
Yeah.
Oh, we get fires every year.
Yeah. So why is this all of a sudden she did something wrong? Y'all just be on fire.
Yeah. I mean, it had rain. We've had the driest winter on record. I'm going to say in like the last 15 or 20 years. We haven't had any rain.
And that's climate change. They ain't got nothing to do about that.
That's the root of all of this. You know, that's why these freaking hurricanes are turning cities upside down.
Right. And that's global. I just saw a video of like 4 hurricanes hit the Philippines like 3 days apart, back to back to back to back.
And it's a very archaic mindset because they feel like their money can pretty much fix all the problems, and they can't do it anymore. And
that's across money into the wind and the hurricane, see what happens. Yeah,
exactly.
Ridiculous.
That's across the board with white people. Money can't fix everything.
Nope.
You know. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I was being really rubbed by it because I heard it right before I got on air today in really close proximity. Now I wanted to say something, but I was like, look, I got to jump on this live, but I wanted to address it. So that's yet another something that we're dealing with. Well, we didn't talk about Luigi today. And I thought we would because we haven't really talked about him, but I really got to run. But I really want to hear a little bit about him. Just go off. I just need to hear something. I set it off in the chats.
I'm not sure he did it. I'll just say that.
I don't think he did. Yeah, I think it's a massive setup. And I also think that I agree with the majority of the people that are in my feed on all the social media that I'm on, and that how come he's being called a terrorist for killing one dude, but they going into these schools and shooting up kids, and there's just a troubled young person, you know, and the whole narrative around him, they call him a terrorist because he killed a rich person.
Right.
You know, and so why is he getting special treatment? He just got his brothers getting shot in the head on the street all the time. They're not calling him terrorists. Yeah.
Nope.
What's behind the perfect manicured look? Like, what's behind that? I mean, what's the story with that? Is his defense team just trying to build this case the defense to keep?
I mean, he got groomed while he was in jail. Like, you know, who's giving lineups?
Yeah, I mean, guys are perfect.
You said he got lineups in jail.
And Mayor Eric Adams right now is just about to freaking piss me the hell off. I mean, he is just posturing to the.
I'm so over.
I guess he knows his career is just about to be over, so he's just trying to signal to somebody that, yo, I'll tap dance for you. Look at me now.
Right.
That's what it looks like.
He out there like Eddie Kane Jr.
I've never seen such
nights like this. I wish.
It was something like this. Perp walk should have went to Broadway. It was just so freaking.
You said Broadway.
Like, look at all of this pomp and pageantry.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like everybody was lined up and they were all just in sync. I was like, what is this?
You know what it was? It was one singular sensation. Every little step. It was a mess. But I mean, that's what we've come to. As much as we make jokes about Idiocracy and Don't Look Up and all the other movies that warn us that we are headed towards crazy, we still headed towards crazy. And so everything is becoming about theater. Everything is becoming about the reaction, how much you can get people to click on whatever for money. Yeah, and we are so deep into that. I don't know how we climb ourselves out. Because as was mentioned by Ronnie Chang, ain't nobody reading anything.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I did hear commentary that they said that the reason why it was such on a grand level because they wanted to scare would-be copycatters. Because the world was trying to paint him as this huge vigilante, and they were trying to push back on that narrative by making, his presence and all this police presence around him so powerful that any would-be copycat would be, too intimidating to even try it.
It backfired in a major way because now we all know his name. And most Americans, well, I don't know for most because I don't have the numbers, but a lot of Americans are celebrating him like, yeah, bro, do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a disconnect because my family back home at Christmas, they couldn't understand why people would be. And I tried to break it down to them in the most simplest way I could. It was a double superlative. I'm sorry. In the simplest way that I could. And I could not get my point across.
Yeah,
because
nobody cared.
Go ahead.
Nobody cared that the person that had been at the top of a company that is routinely denied people coverage that they need and therefore have neglectfully murdered hundreds of thousands of people. Nobody cared that he got shot.
Anybody who has ever gotten a hospital bill was like, What you want on your books?
But see, my folks didn't get that. And I tried to educate them and give them that perspective, and they still had this disconnect. And that just wasn't my people. That was like a lot of Black folks down there, because they didn't understand the subtext as to why people were just low-key clapping and some just overtly clapping what he did. You know, they just saw the fact that somebody murdered someone in cold blood, and that was enough for them to be like, oh my God, he should go to jail for the rest of his life.
I mean, he going to jail. He going to be treated like a king in there.
Yeah. But it wasn't an argument I was really wanting to have with them anyway.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let it go. Like
you too. It's like, you know what? It's way beyond your intellect, so I'm good.
I just find it very difficult to believe that a person who is able to put together a plan that allowed him to assault that man on a public street was caught a day later with the murder weapon in a McDonald's in a different state. Are you trying to tell me you couldn't have lost in New York City?
Right.
In New York City, you couldn't have lost that gun on the first subway
Give
platform.
It to a rat.
Give it to a pizza rat. Give it to a homeless person. Give it to any number, an unhoused person. Give it to any number of people. You're in New York. You could have gotten rid of that thing.
Take it to Brooklyn.
A change of clothes. Why did you go and kill this man and smile into a camera on your way out? Where's the balaclava? Why don't you have one of them rubber masks off Temu?
Right. Where's your fake like president's mask or whatever?
Are you kidding me? And then you find him at a McDonald's, and with your snitching ass, you didn't even get the award because you called the wrong number.
Yeah, she earned what she got. Stupid. Because what? They don't read. They ain't follow directions.
Read.
I love y'all.
Yeah. Love you too, Jermaine.
I gotta run. Sharpies. Happy 2025.
Sharpies, thank you. You know, we got our numbers up by the end of the show. We thank you. It is 2025. Happy New Year.
Wait, before we end the show, and Jermaine, I know you got to go. I'm about to be silly. You don't have to stay for this part. But I do want to start a new segment because since I do sit on my couch sipping tea and watching the world burn, I'm like,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Did your lights just go off, Jermaine?
I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I accidentally unplugged the thing. I'm sorry. I'm still here.
But I wanted to start a new segment. So for all of y'all out there that are like, you know, trying to find something to distract yourselves with, every week, y'all know I like to look for stupid shit on the internet. I'm going to bring out a new segment called Fools You Should Follow. I mentioned to the guys earlier, and they didn't believe me. But the first fool that you should follow, you believe me? The first, Jermaine?
Yeah, we're just gonna take you out the feed.
Bye, Jermaine. But the first fool you should follow is wait, he's back.
I accidentally unplugged my lamp.
That's hilarious. There's a guy on Instagram, and all he does is take old cartoons from the 80s and narrate them. Now he's not doing it word for word. He just said he starts with "So imagine you Superman" or whatever. And
I know. Yeah, no.
And so I'm going to show you the clip that I got from the other day because I thought it was funny. But his title's at the bottom, and this is a fool. He is a fool, but he is a fool you should follow.
So imagine you Superman and you wear your drawers on the outside. Now this criminal done robbed a museum and found a tablet and read off of it because somehow he majored in ancient languages in college. Then he turned into Cthulhu with the slurm trail. You pull up on dude and you trying not to step on the slurm. Then he claw your chest and now your shirt look like a threequel. Then he go in this building and take it over with slime magic and you can't get in. Jimmy Olsen in there getting the up close Spider-Man photos. So the next day you with the cops and hippie big bone Wednesday Wednesday Addams show up talking about she could help. You like, I'm going to see Dr. Fate. His wife let you in and he like, man, I quit doing that magic stuff since them Doctor Strange movies blew up. I need a new angle. That's why I'm wearing this turtleneck. So his wife heal your scars and give you this magic olive and you use it to get through Cthulhu's force field.
You've just sent him to his grave.
You ain't been the same since I bought you that turtleneck for Christmas. Meanwhile, Cthulhu done turned Jimmy, Lois, and Scottie Pippen into snot disciples, while Lois the only one with a perm. So you pull up on Cthulhu and lose the olive. Now you fighting creatures with snatched waists and 3 eyeballs. Then Dr. Fate show up with the tablet. Lose it, you find it, and now you on the run from Oogie Boogie. He read it and trap old slurring booty in it. Then here come the cops all late like they finna do something.
He has literally 700 or 800 videos. Some of them are like, he's got all Jim and the Holograms. He's got the whole series of Jim and the Holograms, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, like anything from the 80s that probably has lost, its appeal. So it's not like he's got to be worried about copyright or whatever. Right. But that's so imagine he does it every time. His name is Black Zeus X. And that is a food that you should follow. Black Zeus X is one of my favorite. When I just need to feel better for about a minute and a half, follow him.
Fix. That's your fix.
He's my fix. So
yeah, I love the animated. I mean, Ace Vane obviously is one of my.
Ace Vane. Ace Vane has got such a big follower now. He
is. He doesn't need the hip, but I will definitely support this guy. We're also looking at other things that we can do to stabilize our mental health in this clown show that we're in. So we're going to be rolling out some different segments. But thank you, Sharpies, for sticking with us. Thank you, Jermaine, for overstaying and unplugging and replugging and being back on the show. Thank you so much for that. And I will say, with that, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
I'm Joy Stevens.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. Goodbye, everybody.